Today is Friday, May the 30th, 2025, and I thought the timing was good to go back and look at the research I had done on the TikTok ban, especially as it relates to digital equity as the new real estate. I'm going to share several screenshots of articles and legal language, as well as some videos to help people to understand what I have uncovered about TikTok as it relates to China. But I want to make clear at the outset that China is not the problem, and you'll see in a moment why that is true. The primary issue being raised is privacy and data security, but you have to ask yourself, what kind of people would want other people's data and private information, for what purpose, and then what kind of people would mine for that kind of data and then seek to sell it to other people? An underlying question as you watch this video should be, who is an adversary? How do you determine that a person, a group, or even a country is an adversary to your country? What would be the criteria? And what kind of interaction do you imagine you would be having with someone who you consider adversarial to your own goals, your own purpose, your own living? In your personal life, when you consider somebody adversarial to you, how do you tend to interact with those people? And is our government interacting with people they have defined as foreign adversaries in the same way? Since I am going to be using screenshots, I wanted to share again ways that you can improve the pixel quality of this video so that you can see the text more clearly. Most people won't want to read through all of it, but I have made notes and highlights along the way when it gets to those screenshots to kind of help frame your thinking and sort of how you are processing the information. The goal is to make all of this relevant to you personally, even if you don't use TikTok, because TikTok is significant. It's the sound of a clock, and clocks represent time. Time is up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
In the Facebook post I shared preceding this video, I wrote, in advance of the video, I would like to share with you 3 things that stand out with all of this. Number 1, China is not the adversary here, not as a country, nor by definition of a foreign adversary in the Code of Federal Regulations. These TikTok people are in Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania, and the Cayman Islands. Quoting from the CFR, the United States foreign adversaries, currently defined in 15 CFR 791.2, is any foreign government or foreign non-government person determined by the Secretary to have engaged in a long-term pattern or serious instances of conduct significantly adverse to the national security of the United States or security and safety of United States persons, end quote. Can we use this as my insistence on making catfishing a felony? Nigeria and related West African countries and Delhi and related East Indian countries are far more adversarial with these social media platforms than China has ever been. Why does a social media platform with American-based majority ownership need 7,000 employees? Why does any social media platform need 7,000 employees anywhere to manage it? I don't know. I'm really curious. Donald just did the $5 billion deal with SoftBank, and they're affiliated with TikTok too. So, number 2, all governments are trash unless they are 100% locally administered and everyone in every locality has everything they need to raise healthy families. Supply and demand economies are famine-based economies which force people to negotiate for things they should already have. You can have meaningful regional, state, and national councils who meet about trading goods that are exclusive to an ecosystem, inland versus coastal, for example. But these would not be necessities. Can you understand the difference and why supply and demand is manufactured to drive labor, workforce compliance, and finance, including motivations to acquire debt? If the government were run like a 2-parent home, TikTok would simply be banned. Mom, the rule maker. My kids are not responsible enough to handle using this properly, so they can't have it. I appreciate the offer, but I don't want to have to concern myself with what you are doing in your house, ByteDance people, to have to manage my own. Dad, the enforcer. If you find my kids have access to your platform, please block them and let me know. I'll deal with them accordingly. Have a nice day, ByteDance people. If protecting our kids is the goal and we have decided something is a threat to that, we are not going to threaten our neighbors or ban them. We're going to get rid of whatever is causing the problem so that everyone can live their own lives and get along. It's not hard. In 2021, I documented international research I was doing on the Human Development Indexes. In China, where the index is low, there is an entire segment of their 1.4 billion population who are treated no differently than natives of America who continue to fight against the injustices of the United States federal government. There were many studies around treatments for children who were sick and dying because they were using protective mosquito tents as blankets. They couldn't just sleep inside the tents. They needed to have the chemically treated fabric on their bodies to get relief from bites. It was reportedly so bad. TikTok is the last thing on these people's minds. Butterflies don't crawl.
The state-sponsored China model is credited with transforming the country's economy. China's middle class is now bigger than the entire United States. And its economy is growing twice as fast. This success has become a major source of tension in the trade war.
The question is American complaint about the way China handles its economy, or is about China's legitimacy to become a prosperous and powerful country? Our population is 4 times bigger than the US. We have 1.3 billion people, right? You have 300 million people. So China's economy should be 4 times higher than the US economy. Now we are only
difficult for people in the United States to accept.
Yeah, of course. I know this is difficult to accept, right? Today we are only 60% of the size of the US. I think we do have the right to be at least as powerful as the US, and even one day much powerful than the US.
Do you think that Americans should be worried?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Yes, they should.
You know, the Chinese government thinking we are become stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And the US still number one, big brother, right?
Big brother.
I hope the big brother not trying to punch me on my face. And the big brother was thinking, you know, this little brother someday probably will do something to me. I think that I think that really depends on the intelligence of both countries' leader to make sure war is fine, but please don't fight.
But back in the US, Trump was eager to escalate the tariff fight.
Thank you very much.
In the fall of 2018, he upped the ante by threatening even more tariffs.
As you know, we have $250 billion at 25% interest with China right now, and we could go $267 billion more. And China wants to talk very badly. And I said, frankly, it's too early to talk. Can't talk now because they're not ready, because they've been ripping us for so many years.
Trump's position was that it was time to hit back, and that prior administrations have been too soft on China.
Deficits, they have a surplus of $375 billion with a B with the United States. And it's been that way for years and years and years. I don't blame China. I blame our leadership. They should have never let that happen. And I told that to President Xi. I said,
but while Trump was blaming his predecessors, we were hearing about other reasons why the problems with China had gone on so long. Dozens of interviews we did in China and the US pointed to an unlikely obstacle: American businesses themselves.
They were worried about the operations they had in China, whether they would lose the profitability.
One of the biggest problems the US has had with China over the years is what's come to be known as forced tech transfer, where companies wanting to do business in China say they're pressured to give up their technology.
China started adopting what were called indigenous innovation policies to make sure that their own companies, state-owned or otherwise, were going to be the ones who really were the leaders in the new economy.
So you're saying they didn't compete fair?
They engaged in predatory and protectionist policies. They demanded that many foreign companies seeking to come into their market had to do it through joint ventures with their own firms, and in many cases requiring that their technology be transferred to empower Chinese entities to become, great world companies.
I am obligated, regardless of consequences, to give my advice to the president, but no president is obligated to follow that advice.
This past August, or ROTC. After graduating in 1980, he went on to become a paratrooper and serve in Special Forces. He did 1 combat tour in Iraq and 3 in Afghanistan.
Raise your right hand.
This past May, he returned to Princeton to commission the graduating ROTC class.
Congratulations to every one of you.
And took a particular interest
All right, cadets.
in a few of the young officers whose language skills are currently in high demand.
I speak Chinese, sir.
Chinese is really, really important to us. Does anybody else speak Chinese? Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you speak Chinese, if you don't mind, I'd like to get your names, and we'll see where life takes you guys. We, the United States, need to take the challenge, the military challenge of China extraordinarily seriously.
How concerned are you that military-to-military communications are not happening right now with China?
Yeah, I think we need to get that established. We had them for a period of time, and then they've dropped off. So channels of communication are important in order to de-escalate in time of crisis.
General Milley says he held a total of 5 calls with his Chinese military counterparts during the Trump and Biden administrations. But it was his last 2 calls during the final months of the Trump presidency that got the attention of the press, Congress, and the former president himself. Why did you think it was so important to call your Chinese military counterpart in the aftermath of the January 6th attacks?
That's an example of de-escalation. So there was clear indications that the Chinese were very concerned about what they were observing here in the United States.
Did you see some movement of Chinese military equipment?
I won't go over anything classified, so I won't discuss exactly what we saw or didn't see or what we heard or didn't hear. I will just say that there was clear indications that the Chinese were very concerned.
President Trump recently said that your dealings with China were so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death.
That's right, he said that.
But for the record, was there anything inappropriate or treasonous about the calls you made to China?
Absolutely not. Zero. None. And not only that, they were authorized, they're coordinated. Congress knows that. We've answered these questions several different times in writing.
Were you giving the Chinese information about thinking of the President of the United States?
The specific conversation was, I think, in accordance with the intent of the Secretary of Defense, which was to make sure the Chinese knew that we were not going to attack them.
Why did the Chinese think that the U.S. under then-President Trump was going to attack them?
The Chinese were concerned about what is commonly referred to in the English language, like an October surprise, wag the dog sort of thing. They were wrong. They were not reading us right. Look, President Trump was not going to attack China. And they needed to know that.
China, Russia, and the war in Ukraine are now the problem of his successor, Air Force General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. There are
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.